we're over at the depot with some of the Transdev staff. Took them from Lisa, so I know everybody in here has a hand in making sure that we have transit services throughout the county. So thank you for everything that you do once again. Does anybody else have any comments?
If I may, let's see, Jose or let's see, Christine or Ryan, can you all hear us? Because our legal counsel said they cannot hear audio.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
All right, so then Sekou, it's on your end. I don't know if he can't hear, you say that. Let's see, I'll let him know that it's on his end. Okay.
Do we have any public comment? Oh. Any other comments by members or guests? Okay, then we can move on.
Okay, great, thank you. So our first agenda item is the consent agenda. There are several items on this agenda for you all. I do want to make note that I do need to correct the minutes on the for the meeting of February 26th. I do have Mr. Conde listed on several of the approval items that he was absent, so I need to make that correction. So I think at this time, if anybody does not want to do these items pulled from the consent agenda, I would ask you to all approve the agenda with the statement that the minutes will be corrected to recognize Mr. Conde's absence.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, so then we'll move on to agenda item 5A, and this is to receive a report from the Interim Director of Transit Services regarding this month's operational, financial, and other relevant activities.
Good afternoon, everyone. As per usual, if any of you have any questions or any comments you'd like me to follow up with the weekly activity report, feel free to do so. We can do it either here or on a one-on-one basis via email. But I'm available to respond to any of the items that I list in the weekly management report. Another item is the board resolutions that are on the agenda. We're going to hold back 1 month, simply because with the county attorney transitioning to either provide legal services, they've not had the same opportunity to review them as Kim Smith had. So, they're on the agenda, but we're going to table them. We're not include them for vote, because again, county attorney's office is going to be looking at them also, and this will give them an opportunity to review them as well. The grant status report is also going to be presented to you in April. It's an involved report, about $20+ million with about 18 different grants. We want to make sure that we get all the data and the most current information to you all. So we'll be presenting that actually in the April meeting. And then tomorrow, Thursday, I'll be going to support City Council public comments and just make a short 3-minute presentation, simply sharing with them the fact that we did submit an annual report to them, the City Council, as we did with all the other city councils. Excuse me. And it's just a courtesy visit. Also, just letting them know, reminding them that July 1st is only about 3 months away. And of course, there's a place here in the boardroom for them, but it's a courtesy visit. And then I was going to touch base with the board members between now and the next couple of weeks, because I think it would be a good idea that whoever sits in this role should be making at least 3 to 4 visits with the town council, village, or cities of our membership. And I was going to touch base with you all about visiting with you all, and hopefully with the mayor. You and the mayor, we can schedule something in the next 4 to 5 weeks. And this way, just get an opportunity to visit with them, answer any questions they might have about the annual report or any projects that are underway, any thoughts, observations, comments, etc. It's always good to maintain that, working relationship with the mayor of each of the entities. And along the same lines, then in June, when Mr. Enda starts with us at the end of May, so in June, I'll be doing the same thing, but with him. And for that, we'd like to put ourselves on the agenda so that he can make a formal, introduction of him. So in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'd like to visit with you and with the mayor. And then in June, normally at the board meeting, council meetings, visit with, with PennDOW and make a presentation to the city council so they can have any questions or actually other thoughts that they might have and get a chance for them to see you. And like I said, unless anybody has any questions.
That's a great idea. Do we know start date for Mr. Haggett?
It's anticipated to be May the 28th, 29th, thereabouts. So starting June 1st, for sure, he should be here.
And have you talked about transition plans yet?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Well, I'll stay along for about 3, 4, 5 weeks. A lot of that depends actually on the board and as far as how long I stay on after weeks here. But I think all along we talked about maybe 3, 4 weeks as he transitions in. And that'll give me the opportunity to visit with him, show him the various towns, cities, and village within the county.
Well, that decision is probably the details of the transition on Mr. Landeros, right?
Yes.
During.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any questions?
There will be no action on this agenda item. This will now take us to agenda item 5B. This is to discuss and take appropriate action to allow El Paso County Transit to offer a promotional free fare to passengers for ozone action days as determined by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And I believe this will take this agenda item.
Yes, good afternoon. It's a Santa Transit Plan. Just a quick overview of this. It's every year we bring it up to the board. Every time that Texas Commission decides the ozone is high in our area. So when they declare an ozone day the day prior, so we'll notify the riders, we'll notify our transit provider that it's going to be a free fare for that day. And what it does, it reduces the pollution that causes some temperatures, especially in the summer. Historically, last year we did, PCQ declared 14 days to be ozone days. Years prior was 13 days. So the average that we see is 20 days a year. And we average it at about $374 a month. So we anticipate if we do a free ozone day as we are offering, it's got a loss of about $7,480. And we anticipate if TCQ says 20 days will be average this year. That's just to make it a guess, an educated guess. What we do with these revenue fares that we lost, these revenues, what we use is when we get invoiced for our contracted services for our transit provider, we deduct that fare. So although the fare is not gaining revenue, we won't lose. We're not losing. We're not receiving any fares at this time. And $10,000 anticipated. It's not as it's like a judgmental hit to the budget.
Any questions? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, so first for Commissioner Butler, Scotty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. This will now take us to 5C, and this is where we'll be proceeding a presentation from Barracuda PR on updates from the Socorro Reduction Fund and the recommendations for its continuation. So let me go ahead and get these slides ready for Dave.
Just got a question about item B. Since there's no time frame on that, is this going forward or just for FY20?
I will say for this year, for this calendar year of 2025, for the season of the summer season, typically it's 14 days. Last year was 14 days, so.
I just didn't know if it was intended, because I don't know, I know it comes every year, but
Correct.
It seems like every year the board approves it, so worded like this, I didn't know if we were, or the board was approving it in full.
Typically they start May 1st to the end of October 31st. If we can make it to it, we can bring it up next.
I'm okay with it being amended. We all understand it's for,
Standing policy.
extremely, the ozone days are defined within pretty specifically. And it's seasonal.
just for comparison, if I might, we had 14 days in 2024. Houston had 49 days, and Dallas Fort Worth area had 43 days. San Antonio had about 11 days.
So the only thing that I would say is if there was a dramatic increase in the number of days, would you then, I think you'd want to come back to
Sure.
because that would be a different financial
Sure.
impact.
Many things I knew
Probably not
I could.
right now.
Good point. Yeah.
Perhaps in the report from the transit director, it can be reporting how many days were observed during that time. So that can be the trigger to say, okay, maybe we need to cut this. So we are now ready for the presentation from Mayor Kuda, and Dave Acosta will be presenting. So just let me know when you'd like me to form this.
Sure. Hi, good to see everyone again. Also have Anna here with me. She's the COO of Barracuda PR, just in case you have any questions that I'm not able to answer. You can go to the next slide. What I wanted to do first was just give a quick recap of the work that we've done so far to inform the community about the potential and probable elimination of Socorro as part of the stops that the ETA buses are making. I actually sent you another update to this that has the recap on it, but I can just go through it. It's fine. We can use this one because the rest of the slides are the same. Okay. The first round we started was July through August of 2024. During that time, we issued a press release announcing the potential termination of services in Socorro, and a attached video package that was sent to the media for those. What BPR does is when we send out press releases and let them know that there's media availability, if they can't attend, we film it ourselves and send it out to them, and they generally will air it as well. And I believe at that time we interviewed Commissioner Leon about this. This generated about 16 TV media hits, plus the commissioner wrote an op-ed which was printed in English and Spanish in the El Paso Times and the Diario de El Paso. We also printed flyers and distributed them to stakeholders and bus riders, and created a social media kit in English and Spanish for the county, for ETA, and it was also sent to stakeholders as well. So that was from July to August when this was first becoming, okay, great. Now you can go to the next one then. And then, so the second round is when the board approved additional funding so that we could do some more in-depth work on this issue. So, and then we broke that second round up into two phases. The first phase, we distributed an FAQ for drivers in case riders had questions. That way the drivers would have answers for them. And those were made in English and Spanish as well. And we created flyers which were left on the buses and were dropped off at various stakeholders, events, and community centers, things of that nature. And of course, a social media toolkit. And at that time, we started running paid social media ads via, I believe at that time we were running them via the county's social media pages to let people know that these changes were coming. We weren't specific about what the changes would be, other than that ETA would no longer be servicing Socorro and that they should contact their city council in order to try to get them to join the ETA, basically. Just basically messaging that it's not in the hands of the ETA. Phase two, as we got closer, we began it around November, the midway point of November, where we were getting closer to, okay, now these routes, the route 84, I believe, is going to go away. And these other two routes are going to be updated for now. So at that time, we issued another press release and video package to media. This generated about 11 TV media hits and a story in Diario. Of course, those Spanish stories are very important because a lot of our riders in the county are Spanish speakers. And we ran an ad that was developed and strategically placed on Spanish radio stations. And you all should have a report on those ads, as well as the ads for social media, which were done for paid social media and toolkit for stakeholders. We again distributed flyers on the buses, and we also went out physically along the routes that are affected, and dropped off flyers at businesses along the routes, mainly on Alameda and Socorro Road, but on some of the side streets that touch it also, and where the routes go into neighborhoods a little bit, where they loop around. And then we also contacted 3 of the water entities, Horizon Mud, Lower Valley Water District, I believe, and Fabens Water District, so that we could include mailers, which contained also information in English and Spanish, letting riders know that these changes were coming to the routes. So the next slide is just a quick overview of the next one. It's just a quick overview of the situation right now. Basically, these routes are getting ready to go away. Well, the buses will no longer stop in Socorro as of July 1st, right? So what our recommendations are, which are next, go down. I think it's 2 slides. Thanks. Our recommendations right now are to restart the paid and organic social media campaign. In the meantime, between the ending of phase 2 of the last round, which ended January 1st when the routes changed, we stopped the paid social media campaign. We have still been posting organically on ETA's social media channels and sending the toolkit to stakeholders, which has information about Socorro, upcoming changes to Socorro. But we'd like to restart the paid end of that, and in English and Spanish, of course. And now we're doing them on the ETA's Facebook page. These would include clear messaging that Socorro City Council can choose to join ETA at any time to restore services. And they would have static post videos, community engagement through comments and shares. The next slide. Obviously, we'd like to continue the earned media outreach. We need to issue a press release and again offer media interviews to local television, radio, and print outlets, and ensure more broad coverage of the changes and the reasoning behind them. Of course, letting people know that this is in Socorro's hands. Position ETA leadership as available for interviews to answer questions, and emphasize the openness of ETA to work with Socorro should the city reconsider its decision. Last time, particularly KFOX they did several follow-up stories. So having you all as the board, particularly the chairman, and Mr. Landeros, and as well as the director available for media is always going to be of key importance, so that we answer those calls on a proactively and timely manner. The next slide, we'd like to again start up running paid radio advertisements, letting people know that these are going away. Again, targeted mainly to the Spanish-speaking audience. We do feel like those radio ads and the paid social media combination went a long way last time in informing people that these changes were coming. I think I mentioned in the last meeting that the ETA staff, from what they reported to me, only received maybe 1 or 2 phone calls regarding the upcoming changes. And I myself got 1 call from a viewer of KDIA who was didn't quite understand what the changes were. And so we put her in the right direction. And other than that, we didn't hear a lot of feedback either on social media or from phone calls. So we feel like those advertisements, especially radio, did go a long way to let the proper community know that these changes. And then for the next slide, this is the portion that we've been talking about a lot, which is whether or not there should be a public meeting regarding these changes. We've talked about this several times over the last 9 months, I guess. And again, I would just reiterate that, public meetings do have a potential for very low turnout, especially when it comes to things like public transportation, and especially in these areas of rural El Paso County where the population is a little bit more sparse. Also, the issue with public meetings is that, what they're generally for is to gather public information so that you can inform the changes that are coming. In this case, there's no public information that we can gather that will change the fact that Socorro City Council needs to make the decision to join the ETA. So, but what we do recommend possibly doing is conducting a survey before that change comes. And we could do that via, online and promoting it online through these social media ads, and having it on the ETA website, as well as maybe going out into the community. We know that Mr. Mr. Manuelos has a lot of contacts within that community, that we could go out and get some of these surveys filled out, and sort of like pop-ups. That way we can gather that information, hopefully have enough time to gather it and put it together in a report and present it to Socorro City Council before July 1st when these routes go open. Right. And we'd also like to put a mailer in the water bills again with a QR code so that people could take these surveys. Just basically do as much community outreach with the time that we have, to get as many surveys filled out as possible, and hope that this can make some kind of impact with Socorro City Council.
Sorry, I have some questions.
Sure.
The survey. I don't know the value of a survey at this time. I mean, I know Socorro is in the process of doing their transit study, so they're going to be able to counter probably whatever survey responses with whatever they've been gathering themselves. So I guess on the one hand, we'll have some alternative data to support what we're saying, but also I don't think that they care, unfortunately. I think that there's benefit in continuing to try to reach out to the residents, maybe by reminding them in the mailers, and trying to communicate directly with people who use transit about the cutoff date, reminding them if you're going to be impacted by this, call your city council representative. I don't know, how does the rest of the
I agree. I think right now it's probably too short notice until the changes come. I think that we would benefit more of just informing the people of what's happening. And again, if they have any comments, to reach out to them.
I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion too. I mean, the public feedback survey was included in the recommendations because there had been talk before about whether or not we should have a public meeting. So this was included to give you guys an alternative to having a public meeting. It's not necessarily something that I feel, in my opinion, is essential either. I think that with the help of the ETA staff, we've already done a really good job of letting the community know, and the board members, because you guys did a lot of, Mr. Rondelos and the commissioner did a lot of the press for the last run. We've done a really good job of letting the community know that these changes are coming via earned media, paid media, and radio ads, and physical flyers. And I feel like as long as the community knows that the changes are coming and that it's not the ETA's decision, then yeah, I don't think that the public survey portion is necessarily that everything hinges on that. I think it would be a very minor portion other than to present it to Socorro City Council.
Yeah, I agree the same. I think on the previous meetings, I think one of the main goals was to have the city of Socorro actually come to the ETA for the main well that they start and the startup of their whole transit system, just so that the residents won't be affected now. But I agree as well. The survey, I mean, we have done, ETA has, and the Barracuda has done more than sufficient to let the constituents.
We do have a raised hand from Mr. Rondelos. I think he wanted to comment as well.
Thank you. I think if I'm just going to be very frank here, we're losing the messaging battle with Socorro. They're winning. They're saying that if you look at the earned media, they're very clear. They're saying that we are the problem. They're saying that they have to develop a solution, and they're putting all of the responsibility back on us, despite the fact that this board has been having a conversation about trying to deliberately go and be proactive in messaging and shift the responsibility to who it belongs, and that being the city council for deciding not to join. So I don't think it's worth wasting money and time and effort on anything that is not going to lead to residents knowing the full story and the full impact of what the council's decision was. And anything other than that, I won't support. It's a waste of our money. It's a waste of our resources, our staff time. And I just don't know that we have a plan that allows us to shift that, to kind of gain any ground, right? Because we are losing this messaging battle, in my opinion. And I think we need to be thoughtful and come back with, especially because we're coming up on the service deadline cutoff. I think when it happens, we're going to get blamed, and it's not going to be Socorro. And that's a result of not being, not winning. And I don't know what the strategy is. I don't know if we need to change how aggressive, if we need to change the outreach, but I do think we need to regroup and come back with something that's going to be a little bit more aggressive at the end of the day.
So the Socorro reduction plan that was approved by the board for Barracuda to engage in has been completed. And this is why Barracuda has now brought these items to you for recommendations to see what you would like to do moving forward. And again, these are what they are suggesting. So if it's possible, I can read in the next agenda item, because this would be for you all to discuss whether you would want to go forward with the proposal from Barracuda in terms of the next iteration of the plan, if you'd like.
Well, yeah, we probably should have taken them together.
Yes, I apologize for that. So if I can, I'll read that one in as well. So this will be 5D. This is to approve and authorize the chair and legal counsel to prepare an agreement with Barracuda PR to continue the Socorro reduction plan. So in your packets, you do have the proposal from Barracuda. If you'd like for me to pull it up, I can, but you have it on your tablets. And so they are noting what the recommendations would be and what the cost would be associated to that.
Can you pull it up? Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, let me get big. So this was the social media toolkit for the public meeting.
This is
the wrong one.
Now, Annette, just so you know, and chair and board members, I think the agreement that's on the screen is also the one that was posted as the backup for this agenda item. And it's, I think, as you all have noticed, probably for a different project, right? It's TTI and Barracuda working on some other projects. So I don't think we've seen a proposal from Barracuda such as this one for the continuation of the Socorro reduction plan. Have we?
I apologize. I submitted the wrong backup for this agenda item. Yes, sir. So this is the backup for City of Socorro elimination from Barracuda. And if you'd like, Barracuda, you can walk them through what you would like to propose, and then we can show the final budget if you'd like as well. Whatever your preference is, can we drop?
Seems like what
I think we should do that.
Over though, isn't it?
I apologize. I'm sorry. Sure.
This is basically just it's repeating what Dave just presented to us.
Yes, and so we can go to the dollar amount and show. So this is what the cost would be. So it's broken down under the public relations, project management, graphic design, social media management, translation, video package, social media ad budget, and then the radio ad books. And the total would be $18,270.
Generally, I agree with Mr. Landeros about the need to be very clear about the consequences and the impact and the where the accountability for this lies. I think the time for being very diplomatic and trying to engage Socorro City Council to come to the table is probably coming to a close, and now it's just about informing the residents about why they're going to lose service. I think that graphics are going to be important, so maybe maps outlining what this means practically to people who are used to riding the transit service in Socorro is going to be important. So I don't know if you all had that in mind, Dave, but I think once people are able to visualize what that means for them and where they usually get the bus and where they won't be able to get the bus now is going to be important. I also think, and I pose this question to the board members, is would your city councils, mayors be willing to put out statements too, saying that, this is a collaborative effort? I think if people recognize that we have Horizon City and Vinton and San Emisario, that those decisions have been made by their elected leaders to join and to enhance transit services in their municipalities, maybe it'll be clearer to the residents of Socorro that this decision does lie with their city council. I don't know if that's even worth it, but maybe an interview with him,
I think that would be helpful. We could, since we do have several mayors between now and then, we could try to get more than one op-ed published from each mayor, one or two from each one.
Or maybe a joint.
Yeah, or a joint one, something like that. And also if they would like to be available to the media, that would be helpful. Mr. Landeros, I hear where you're coming from. I think that part of the problem is that some of the media doesn't really understand what's going on. And so they're just they hear our side, they go to Socorro and ask them their side, and then there's no follow-up, right? So I think that Barracuda, we need to do the diligence of monitoring that. And if media does not follow up with the question for Socorro, when they lay the blame on the ETA, then we need to follow up and say, hey, you guys ran this story yesterday and you're missing a piece, and we need to come back and do another interview.
Would it be valuable to do a press conference?
I think that would be helpful also.
And bring in the mayors or city council representative and all stand together and talk about this deadline, this June 1st deadline.
Yeah, that would be a good suggestion.
I don't know, have we seen, I know we've been talking about this for, it seems like almost a year now, close to a year. Have we seen ridership numbers on how many people actually board and deboard in Socorro as a portion of our overall ridership? Because maybe putting some context on it, if it's a large percentage of the ridership versus a very small percentage, have we seen that?
Well, of course,
or can we refresh our memories if we have seen it?
We track the ridership for the whole route. And of course, with Socorro being one of the largest community next to City of El Paso. But those particular routes, Horizon City, for example, picks up a lot of clients also from Horizon City, from Socorro.
But specifically the stops that would be in Socorro proper, have we identified those? Do we know really what the numbers look like on those particular stops? Because that's really what we're talking about in this conversation. And I don't know if we've ever seen those numbers. I think there's some value in knowing that, because I think creating a large event over something that's relatively minor from the overall ridership, I think can help guide our discussion going forward. If it's 5% of our overall ridership, to Jose's point, you know, maybe it's best to just move on to the next, you know, get ready for the next phase and be able to explain it. If it's 25% of the ridership, then that's probably a much different priority from what we see.
It'll be on the higher end.
I think
But do we know?
generally, but we should have that data, right?
I can get
For stop data.
And I think in the messaging, that is important, because if you're trying to influence what Socorro does, if they are a large percentage, then you need to tell that story. If they're a small percentage, then it's probably not worth everyone's time to get involved.
And Commissioner, we do have Michael Wong from TTI helped prepare the reduction policy, and he just raised his hand, so I think he wanted to add to this conversation. Hi, Michael.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sir.
I did just want to reiterate or remind the board that we do have those numbers. It was part of TTI's presentation on the potential service reduction actions related to the service reduction policy. So the analysis, we do have, estimates of what proportion of riders, board Socorro, get off Socorro, board Horizon, get off in Socorro. Now I don't have them memorized, but so that if we all look back at the presentation, I'm sure we could find it again, and that could contribute to the discussion and decision making, because I think Carl makes a really good point.
Michael, do you remember what month it was that was presented? Was it in the fall?
September.
I wish I remembered. I'm in the middle of driving, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but I could look back and find it.
No, that's fine. I can do that as you all are having discussions if you'd like.
Or do we need to take? So they can get that. Yeah.
I worry about tabling it only because we have such a short time frame to start some of this work. I'd be interested in your thoughts in terms of timeline, Dave, on when the messaging starts rolling out and when we really should, like if we wanted to do a press conference, when would that be, a month out or 2 weeks out of June 1st, so that we can start at least adding that.
In my opinion, as far as rolling out messaging, the sooner the better. As far as doing a press conference, also the sooner the better, but it could, and we're right now, how far are we? 8 weeks?
We're about 10 weeks.
10 weeks. So if we had a press conference, maybe in 2 weeks, so it was 8 weeks out, or even 6 weeks out.
And then, so for instance, Mr. Bananas, you mentioned you're going to their city council meeting tomorrow. Are you intending or planning to mention that service is getting cut off on June 1st and mentioning that it's their decision?
Yeah, and again, it's only 3 minutes that I have.
Right.
So I have, I'm crafting a statement that I'll stick to, because I don't really cut off after the 3 minutes. But I was going to focus on specifically the date. And also, first of all, just letting them know that we're available here and answer any questions they have. But focus on the date, the fact that it's coming up, and that it's they have a seat available here, and the city council needs to make the decision.
Can you share your statement with Mr. Ronderos?
Sure.
Whenever it's prepared, so that we can make sure we have the right tone.
Sure.
Although I know you're very professional, very polite, and very kind. I think it's a good time to start having more.
Mr. Bananas, the presentation doing this, is it off of public comment or is it?
Public comment.
Yeah. So you didn't get an invite?
No, it's a public comment. Yeah, that's why I have the 3 minutes.
And we could continue showing up to their city council meetings for the next couple of months to.
Sure.
And I can't tomorrow, but I can try to make myself available.
Okay. And as far as the press conference, I think in the next couple of weeks would be, well, first 1 or 2 weeks of April.
Because really, we already wanted to start working on this. Obviously, we had some miscommunication for the last board meeting that affected us moving it to this board meeting, so that we could have make it an action item. So we're already, I don't think we're too far behind, but the sooner we get started, the better.
I think a press release might be a good step. I don't know. What would be the goal of a full-blown press conference versus like more of a press release that would potentially generate the media's interest and trigger interviews, or maybe attending one of our board meetings where we have that item to discuss?
My thought around that was mostly to make sure that the media understands fully, so that we're all in the same place and can make stand together and make sure that they understand the repercussions of Socorro, not and have it visible, right? That everybody is unified, and that the responsibility lies with Socorro.
So the approach or the feedback we got a lot from staff, if we're looking at the messaging aspect, and if it gets to that point, was the contribution versus what they got. I think that's where their council is viewing this discussion from. So in any of the messaging, it's really what is being lost and at what cost. I think that's to Mr. Landero's point about losing the messaging battle. I think that's the messaging going on the other side. We have to pay this amount, and we're really not getting what we think we should for that. Now, I guess there's 2 sides to every story, but if we're going to address that particular issue, then we need to lead with that. What services are we providing? What would the contribution be? And can you get the same level of service trying to self-fund it? I think that's a forward-leaning argument rather than what they're losing, what status quo that they won't be keeping. It's what are you losing going forward at what cost? And I think based on the data we have with TTI and where we're going, it's not just what status quo is, it's what are you going to be paying for going forward? You're never going to be able to get these services at this cost going it alone. And so I don't know if there's a diplomatic way, to your point, to put that in it, or we just put it very assertively, but I think that's.
I don't think we necessarily have to be diplomatic about it. That's not what I meant. But also the reason why I think it's important to have the members that are participating to say we're part of ETA because we pay a proportionate share and we get, XYZ. We understand the value of participating and working together and pulling our resources together towards a common, and then explicitly say, this is what they're not agreeing to do for this price.
I think that would be the best way to attract the constituents' attention. Like it's a sticker shock, so that, hey, this is how much your contribution to ETA is, and you provide services, but you guys are deciding to go on your own route. It's going to cost way more. And I think that would be a good approach on at least having all their constituents' attention and having to go and put pressure on their city council.
We've tried to communicate that.
But I think the way Carl was saying it, it's be more aggressive with that.
But I think to try to convey that message of opportunities, I think it's better to have it in a public meeting versus and then inviting the media. That over time, and media are very, very good at ongoing and covering it. To be able to have everybody there explaining and giving the whole plan, even though the word is already out, but we want to making it more accessible for people to be able to make comments, ask questions, things like that. I think more than a press release or a press conference, it would be better to treat it as a public meeting to be able to describe the whole thing.
Well, we're coming back to.
That question is a public
goal.
meeting.
Are we?
What happens if we have a public meeting is Socorro's not gonna be there, it's only gonna be ETA. And once you tell the public, these are going away, they're gonna ask ETA, why are you doing this? It's not gonna be why is Socorro doing this, it's why are you doing this? It's gonna turn into still trying to place the blame on ETA, whether it's correctly or incorrectly or on purpose or not on purpose. That's what it turns into if you have a public meeting where the entity who is actually the one who has the decision isn't even part of the discussion.
Yeah, well, it's a very difficult position to be in because from Socorro's standpoint, it's very easy for them to say, well, look, we haven't done anything.
Right.
How can it be?
That's what they're doing. And that's what they're doing when they
even though that is the passivity or the inaction is what has led to all of this. But it's hard to message that.
Well, I think the other part to that message is Socorro actually now has a website with their transportation plan in its infant stages, but it's an actual course they're taking. So weaving the fact that Socorro has taken an action, there is going to be a cost to it. And therefore we are being forced to reduce or remove our services. I think even using that word, forced or some similar word. I think when you weave those together, you're telling that story that Socorro has taken this action. They've taken multiple actions to vote not to join, and they've taken an action to go down a path to design their own transportation system. So I think, again, leading with that, it puts the monkey back on their back as far as what's leading this discussion.
I think it's a good idea to have a united front with all the, like you said, on the mayor. But I was just wondering, did we ever explore interviewing some of those affected, the actual riders? So maybe interview them and say, you know, your service and how you'd be impacted possibly.
Because I haven't heard from the council an interim plan. Is anyone else? I mean, developing a transportation system versus having something ready to go. It's a big difference. What price?
I don't know if Michael is available now, but I did pull up the presentation that Kelly Bloom presented in September. And I don't want to say that I know how to present these numbers 100% certainty, but this is where they're presenting the 3 different options. And
so Michael said he was driving, so I feel like he can look at his.
I don't know if it was the screen instead yet though, but so we do have the presentation and we can go back to look at that in terms of just verifying with TTI the numbers. Just obviously with a quick glance at this, and making the assumption that this is acknowledging the routes that are within Socorro. It's showing the 99,670 trips. I'm assuming that's for the entire route, whichever one is being mentioned of, but it does show that at the bottom of the trips that a good amount, 52% are those that are accessing it from the Walmart in Socorro. So we have to verify those numbers, but just to kind of give us some talking points or just some thought for your discussion today.
I wonder if you could couch it or message it as that the city of Socorro has chosen to use resources to produce some future alternative that isn't clear yet, rather than commit resources to ETA, which is already operating the service that's been in use for all this time. And therefore, those services are, or those resources are not available, so the service has to end.
That's been part of the messaging that we've been trying.
I mean, what happens is that then,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. What happens is then that Socorro turns around whenever they come back and ask Socorro, hey, so what's going on with stuff that ETA is telling us? Socorro turns around and says, "Oh no, we just we were just told that ETA is taking these routes away, and so that's why we're trying to come up with our own plan." Whether they're kind of telling a half truth about it in a roundabout way to make it look like it's not their fault. So I think that what we need to do in this second phase or this new phase is, I agree that we should be a little bit more aggressive with the messaging, and continue and try to be out in the media more often than we were in the last round. By utilizing the membership. That way we can produce more stories more frequently till we finally drown out this other thing that Socorro is trying to say that is happening, to kind of drown that message out and say, no, this is what's happening. You can talk to the mayor of, Horizon, the mayor of Benton, the, Sanelli, and they're all going to tell you the same thing versus what Socorro is saying.
Do we have a timeline of the outreach?
Well, we were discussing that. I think an aggressive timeline is going to be important.
Well, I'm talking about the previous outreach that had been done before Socorro decided not to participate. Oh. Something that can also be part of a press release or whatever. Yeah. Like the messages or the dates that
we asked Socorro to be
that we engaged with the action.
Yeah, like on this council meeting, right. On such date, the ETA presented for put that message where on this date they failed to approve being part of the ETA. So based on that, these routes are going to end. So I mean, again, it's put it back on them, and it shows the agenda, the approved minutes show who voted no, and I mean, if you want to be that aggressive, those minutes are going to show who voted yes and voted no because of these certain members.
A lot of them have changed over since the election, but Jesus, do you think you could put together a timeline of our engagement with Socorro? Over the last 2.5 years, I would say.
Because then you're showing that, here's the efforts that we made way before we had anything about changing routes or service or cutting it.
That's a good idea. I also am thinking about, I know, there are certain forums and boards that a lot of the representatives sit on. I'm thinking about the Council of Governments. Mr. Bañales has been presenting updates, but being more upfront and aggressive about the impact that this is going to have, not just on the residents of Socorro, but on the whole transit system, right? That's why we're so concerned about this. But also at the MPO, maybe a presentation in April or May, talking explicitly about Socorro's decision not to join and how that's going to impact, just so that all of the elected leadership in the room, from our state reps to the mayors to staff, know that this is coming. I'm looking at you, Harrison, because I don't know if you think that that's an appropriate presentation to have at the MPO meeting.
I think it's relevant, and I think that the MPO policy board is a good location to have a discussion or bring up the conflict or the issue, because you do have everybody in the room. There really isn't another venue where you get all of those elected officials for the whole region.
And a number of the impacted by it. That's good.
And our senators there,
yes.
State reps are there, and so if they get calls about it, give them a heads up. You are going to get calls about this, and look at your mayor and your city council.
I think the healthcare aspect is important too, because I think the ability for residents in Socorro to access healthcare in the city of El Paso using this route, I don't know where the venue would be, but I'm sure if I don't know if there's any doctors or medical centers near Mission Valley that you could partner with, or medical association or something like that. But to your point, I think that would make that would add another dimension to the discussion.
I believe UMC has a pediatric office in the corner of Alameda and Rio Vista.
So, Mr. Landeros is our appointee to the MPO, so if you're okay with it. Mr. Landeros, tell us how you'd like to present to the board.
Yes, I'll coordinate with Mr. Calvo and Mr. Plord and get this on for the, we're too late for March, but we can certainly do this for April.
And then just let us know if you'd like other board members to be there, or if you can present on behalf of the board.
Absolutely.
We do have a hand raised from our legal counsel, Mr. Estrada.
Yes, Chair and board members, I just want to remind you that the item on the table right now is, along with the presentation by Barracuda, the approval of an agreement to authorize Barracuda to continue this with the Socorro reduction plan. And I think Annette went ahead and showed you the plan as presented by Barracuda. And Annette, what is the total amount of the proposal?
The total amount is $18,270.
18,270. Okay, so I don't know if you all want to vote on that today, approve it today, or if you want to bring it back to the next month's meeting, but I'm not sure if the timeline allows for that. But what I do want to make sure before you approve it is that the scope of work as described in the draft that was presented to you covers everything that you've discussed today, because that's, those are the services that Barracuda will be providing. And if it doesn't, then we need to ask Barracuda to amend the scope of services to reflect the discussion that was had today. And if time is of the essence, we can do it like we've done in the past, where you authorize legal counsel and the chair to sign the task order in an amount not to exceed $18,270, but subject to final revisions if the scope of work does in fact need to be changed. Just want to make sure that you're getting what you're asking for in return for the compensation that's requested in that scope of work.
That we would have to revise the scope of work. I think that since it is more of we're taking more of a direct PR approach, that we could certainly not exceed that amount.
Yes, especially if we remove the survey and switch it for the press conference. I think we can work with this number for the sake of the timeline and just get started, get to work.
I would be supportive of that, of us amending the scope of work after the meeting. I also just note that maybe we also communicate how much we're spending to let the residents of Socorro know the impact of this, right? Because this is
county subsidy.
This is adding up, right? It's a real cost for communicating, doing something that the city of Socorro should be doing. They're not.
Because to your point, the county brings that pass through 5311.
Right.
And so not only are you foregoing the cost that we're offering, you're going to have to try to get access to that 5311 separately.
Yeah, this is a real cost to everybody else who's a part of ETA at the expense of a city council that refuses to do what's in the best interest of the residents.
And additionally, this year, we're providing services to Socorro right now.
Without them being part of it.
Yeah. Right. And that there's going to be a gap, even if they do come up with their own service. How long it's going to take them to get that started, and there's going to be a big gap in time between when these routes go away and now, and I think that's another big part of the decision that people need to know. And probably just I'm going to have a gap in services.
But also that
could be years.
You can be more successful as a collaborative to get grants than going at it by yourself.
Dave, do you have what you need to move forward from us?
I can put together a new plan pretty quickly based on all this.
And if you need more like talking points and edits, I know everybody here happy to.
So are we able to approve this revisions?
I think.
Not to exceed the 18,207.
Not to exceed that.
Not to exceed that, and then with the revised scope.
And just your approval to allow between our legal counsel and myself to amend the scope of work.
Did you want one more member to be available as well in terms of reviewing scope of work or?
I think that can be done informally, behind the scenes. I don't think we need a motion identifying a specific individual. I think what we should do is the PR team, once they have that scope of work amended or redrafted, they can approach the individual members of the board directly and, seek additional feedback. But I think for purposes of helping the board, I can state the motion, and then you all decide whether you want to accept it or not. But the motion should be a motion to approve and authorize the chair and legal counsel to prepare an agreement with Barracuda PR to continue the Socorro reduction plan in an amount not to exceed $18,270 and subject to final review by legal counsel and the chair.
A motion, States.
A second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Ms. Padilla and a second from Mr. Conde. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed, nay. And I just want to clarify my vote, if I may, Chair. I think that the board's discussion today is a restatement of things that have been directly communicated to Barracuda over the last several months, and we haven't seen that reflected in the strategy. And I think that's where some of my concern is about authorizing the scope and the messaging without having that refined. I think is I'm concerned about the expenditure of our funds to really be a worthwhile investment here while we're trying to
Oh, you got
I think as I stated earlier in my opening comments, I think we're clearly losing the messaging battle and have been for the better part of a year against the city of Socorro's decision to reduce services. And so without a clear strategy articulated to the board by Barracuda, I can't support this, and that's why I'm voting no today.
motion passes. All right, so then what we'll do next is go to our next agenda item. And this will be, yes, this is 5E, and this is to discuss particular reaction on the proposed task to develop the 2026 fiscal year 2026 EPAS service plan, financial plan, and contribution amounts. And I do believe that Mr. Locke is available through audio. If you would like to present this item, and not, I can address some of the items as well.
If you can hear me, okay, I'm actually ready now. So perfect timing. Okay. Hello, members of the board. This is Michael Walk with Texas A&M Transportation Institute. And we submitted a draft task order for TTI to develop the FY 2026 service plan, financial plan, and contribution amounts. And I'm not sure if that draft was already circulated to board members.
It was. I just have to make sure I said the right thing, but yes, I did circulate that. Yes.
Okay. In summary, if you've been through this process before, the process is essentially the same. Therefore, the tasks and the cost are essentially the same as last year. There were some small modifications. Cost did go up moderately due to changes in salaries and actual costs associated with the staff performing the work. There's a little bit more hours in this task because of the uncertainties associated with, we have to estimate costs of the actual service. We have the two RFPs that need to be awarded and factor in how those costs would impact the financial plan, the uncertainty regarding service changes in Socorro and how that affects the service. And also the potential, I guess the additional task to figure out how to do the contribution amounts per member jurisdiction with, sort of the challenge related to Socorro, and also looking at a way to potentially have a number for the city of El Paso. So with those particular changes to scope, the cost is a little bit higher. The board did ask us at the last board meeting if we could deliver the contribution amounts in time for the May board meeting. So that would be to have the first values to the executive committee in May, and then the full board meeting in May for approval. Unfortunately, the TTI team, if y'all do approve us to do this work, we would not be able to make the May deadline. We can do a June deadline. So we would need that one additional month to have the numbers available for the executive committee in early June and the full board at the June board meeting. And I am happy to take any other questions. I didn't walk through the tasks because it was the same as last time, but I'm happy to go into more detail if you all desire.
Thank you, Michael. I guess I'd like to hear from our board members. I know we're all starting the budget process soon, within the next month or two. On the scope of work, Michael, I do have a question. It does show that possibly by May we could have, well, it says revenue forecasts. But the contribution amounts, is there a way to get maybe like a forecast for those in May?
So sorry, I'm trying to get my mind together. Just drove from another meeting back home and just getting settled in. Apologize for that. So the contribution amounts themselves require all of the other pieces to be in place. Costs, forecasted revenues, and all of the analyses to allocate local share to jurisdictions. And that's why, even though we'll have revenue forecasts, which means our federal, state, and local revenue forecast by the end of May, that gets us to calculating a local share. But the final step is doing the actual allocation of that local share to jurisdictions. So in summary, there's so many things changing this fiscal year that I don't see a path towards like a preliminary number, because we've done that in the past, right? We've said, well, we'll give you some sort of preliminary estimate using a basic set of assumptions. With all the changes that are happening, I'm not sure that I would feel very confident giving the board preliminary estimates for May, but feel very confident we can give you the final numbers by June. I know that's not what everybody was hoping for. It's just a matter of us being realistic with the work effort it takes and the uncertainties that are laying ahead of us over the next couple of months.
Anybody have any questions?
Question. Sure. Mr. Walker, will you be providing a comparison on previous years to this Y26 as well? And
yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll have a summary table at the end, which will compare each jurisdiction's local contribution amount and the cost of service within each jurisdiction over the last several fiscal years.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
And Chair, if I may, just the amount for during the 25 service plan was 43,500, and now that the amounts reflected at 45,650, that's the 2,150 increase.
Thank you.
And I believe that since it's still in draft, Michael, can you talk about what will need to happen in terms of you preparing a final one?
Well, two things. One is board feedback on scope. So if there is any comments in terms of specific deliverables or formats or from the board, we can incorporate them. If there are none, then assuming the board approves scope, then it's just a matter of TTI's administrative folks finalizing the document, putting it through their QA/QC process. The budget amount won't change. So really, I would call it a 98%, right, document at this point. If the board's comfortable with the scope and budget, then in the interim, we can finalize all that and it can be signed after today passes if y'all make a motion to do so. Does that answer your question, Annette?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I understood in terms of it not being in its final form per se, but I don't know if Mr. Estrada would want to propose another motion similar to where that you all would approve once receiving final review of the documents. I don't know, Mr. Estrada, there's anything else you want to add to that?
Before that, sorry, Mr. Estrada, do any board members have feedback on the scope of work?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Walk? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Estrada.
No, that's actually what I was going to ask, Chair. I just want to make sure that the board members and that staff have had ample time to review it, you know, and if they have, then we can make a motion like the one that we did for the previous item. But if y'all think that you need more time, then I was going to ask, you know, what does it look like if we come back next month with a more final draft? You know, what does that do to the timeline for getting all this work done? It's really all up to you. If you feel confident that staff and board members have had time to review the task work and everyone's on board with what it calls for, then I think, you know, we can go ahead and make a motion to approve today. If you all think you need more time, then I was just going to propose that it be delayed until the next month if that doesn't create, you know, other issues for you all. But I do know it came in recently, so I just want to make sure you all had ample time.
I think time is the essence, and we have the benefit of having worked with TTI this entire time and know what the deliverables look like, and I think the nods I've seen mean that everybody's comfortable moving forward today.
Perfect.
Could you state the motion?
So, yeah, I'll state the motion. In that case, let me go back to the agenda, and it'll be a motion to approve the proposed task to develop the FY 2026 EPAT service plan, financial plan, and contribution amounts as presented by TTI, subject to final legal review.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Butler, second from Mr. Lucio. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Michael.
Okay, so our next agenda item is 5F. This is to discuss and take appropriate action to extend ex officio membership on the EPAT's board of directors to the West Texas El Paso Regional Transportation Committee, which is an entity funded by the Texas Department of Transportation. We did review the bylaws and the bylaws of the board ex officio membership, but it's not identified specifically which organization, so there's no need to make any relations to the bylaws pertaining to this membership. And so I don't know if Ms. Reinels would want to add anything else to this item.
I think Annette, it was Mr. Landeros who recommended this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Board members, this was something that we've discussed just as we continue to look at all of ensuring that all the regional stakeholders involved in transit are party to the decision-making and other activities of ETA. We wanted to ensure that WETEP was one of them. Mr. Bañales currently serves on WETEP and is our natural connection to them as he transitions out of his interim role. We want to make sure that we keep that connection formally established between both organizations. And so I ask for the board's favorable consideration on this item.
I'll make a motion to.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Rubio. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We next have executive session. I don't know if there's anything that you would like to go into executive session for.
I don't think we have any.
All right, then we're ready for adjournment.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for a really productive meeting. Barracuda PR, we look forward to working with you on a very successful and aggressive PR strategy. And just a note to board members that we'll be reaching out to you to engage your feedback as well. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thank you.
So do you need a motion to adjourn?
Oh, do you need a motion to adjourn? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Rubio. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Here you
Motion carries.
I was gonna ask you, would you be the